We have to abolish ICE. We have to abolish the Customs and Border Patrol in the way that they currently exist and replace them with something that actually does the work that we need for them to do, and that is effective at holding these people in this administration accountable. I'll tell you what the work is not. The work is not killing American citizens.
You said the work we need them to do. I'm
community.
interested in your opinion. What is the work that we need them to do?
Absolutely. One, the work is not killing American citizens.
No,
It's
what
not
is the work we need them to do?
Well, first, let's look at what they don't need to do. They don't need to go into communities like Memphis,
Do they need to deport illegal aliens?
where they're currently terrorizing and traumatizing our communities. What we also need to make sure is that we have elected officials who are creating a pathway of opportunity for people who are currently undocumented.
Do we need a federal law enforcement agency to deport illegal aliens, yes or no?
We do need a federal law enforcement agency that deals with immigration, that doesn't kill people.
To deport illegal aliens,
what we
yes
do
or no?
also need is laws that make sure that people who are undocumented...
Is there a single illegal alien that you would deport?
You know, this is what I want you to focus on.
Is there one?
I want you to focus on. There are a lot of people in this country and in this community, in our communities, that have done so much to make them better, and we need to be prioritizing how we create opportunity.
Is this the Democratic position for 26?
The Democratic
position in 26, that should be deported?
The Democratic position in 26 is that we don't terrorize American citizens, we don't terrorize undocumented people.
If you were advising Democrats in 26, would you advise them to answer this question this way, that you can't say there is a single illegal alien that should be deported by the federal government?
What is shocking to me is that you think you can narrow the challenges of immigration,
There's 20 million
that you can challenge the issues of immigration into one yes or no question, when the reality is the policies and practices
should we follow the law is the yes or no
administration have led to the deaths of American citizens and has not produced the results that
no deportations. That's the Democratic position.
Yo, man, at the end of the day, fam, it's like this. If you are a black American, if you are American, you believe that we should have a border, and that everybody should be allowed to just come into our country, then you cannot side with the Democratic Party. It's just what it is. That's just what it is. It's what it is. They don't believe that people who are here without being citizens should have to leave. That's what they believe. This guy is running for office. He was a state rep. Now he's running for office, and it's just, he's running on that. That's what it is. You don't have to like Scott Jennings, but you got to like the truth, and you got to accept the reality. And the reality is, these people just are not for us. And if you're a black politician, you have to basically, in the Democratic Party, you have to fight for your own demise. These people that say we're stronger together, they need to realize that phrase does not include you. That includes the elites. That includes the major multinational corporations. That doesn't pertain to working class people. We're not stronger together when you dilute our workforce. We're not stronger together when you stretch our resources, when you reallocate resources that go to our community and you give them from a new emerging community that you brought in. How are we stronger together? But I see people repeating this. I see working class black people repeating nonsense. Do you know how hard it is when you are a working class person and you lose your job and you try to get assistance in this country? Do you know how many hoops you got to jump through? These people don't have to jump through those hoops. In order to be a politician with the Democratic Party, you have to betray your people. They make that pretty plain and simple. And this guy here, this politician here with the big afro, trying to signal and harken back to a time of black solidarity, civil rights, true fighter. We know that's what he's doing. I remember when he used to try to sound like Dr. King. He dropped that stick quick. He went national profile, and people started calling him out. The difference is this guy, and not just him. I don't know Mr. Pearson, but I know that an unchecked border, no restrictions, bringing in a new underclass to replace the former underclass and put us under the new underclass, it's not helpful to us. But see, when you're only concerned about yourself, when you see the handwriting on the wall for what your future must include within this party, that you are crying because you want to be a part of. You think this guy's a Democratic politician because he just loves people and he gotta fight for the people? Man, if you come to the Democratic Party and that's truly who you are, you know what you would do? You know what you would do? You'd leave the Democratic Party so fast, it wouldn't see nothing but dust. I challenge anyone. I challenge anyone who is a Democratic Party member, who is a candidate, a challenger. And I mean above, once you get above, when you try to move anything beyond local politics, you basically are deciding that your virtues, your ethics, all that is out the window. How can you can't serve two masters, and the master's got to be with the Democratic Party. It has to be let in all undocumented people, don't have a border, don't complain about it, embrace it, it's the future, take care of your family. That's the real deal. And I wish more of us would just accept that's what it is. I'm sorry if it sounds harsh to you. I'm sorry if it hurts your delicate ears, if it's troubling, if it's divisive. Yes, yeah, it's divisive. I walk into a room and somebody didn't have on deodorant today. Someone walked in. I walked into the room, I smelled someone in the room doesn't have on deodorant. Then I realized there may be more people who don't. Guess what we need to do? We need to separate the room by those who shaved or bathed and put deodorant on and those that didn't. That may be divisive, but it's necessary for my nose. Necessary for my gag reflex. Okay? You got to separate nonsense from what you want and what you don't want. People, this is a divisive. What's wrong with divisiveness? You have to know what you're working with. Are you popping the balloon or not? You can't get down to your person without popping some balloons. That's divisive. You're married to one person if unless you're Dr. Umar, you're married to one person. You have to be divisive to get there. This idea that divisiveness is bad. No, you gotta, isn't it in the Bible, separate the wheat from the chaff? You gotta separate. As long as the reasons you're separating aren't based on race, gender, stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? Protected class issues. But if we're separating on ideology, separating on ethics, or separating on what people stand on and what they don't stand on, that's fine, and that's fair game. We tell our kids to be divisive all the time. I don't want you hanging out with the kids that don't go to school, the kids that don't follow the rules, kids that are out here being lawless, doing drugs. I want you to separate yourself from them. There's nothing wrong there, and you go, that's right, separate yourself. Well, separate yourself from people who are on this BS with the Democratic Party. It's fine. They need to wake up. I'm doing my best trying to reach them. But this idea that the Democrats are spreading that has black people dragging other black Americans to their own displacement, their own lack. I will get that to the Republicans. At least they're not doing that. I mean, they're doing a lot of horrible things. Don't get it twisted. But this part, it may be for the wrong reasons. Maybe it is xenophobia. I don't know. But at the end of the day, this is not good for us. It's good for corporations. Here goes Tom Homan explaining this very clear.
So here's what the message no one gets across. You can claim asylum in this country. If you go to the last 10 years of immigration court data, nearly 9 out of 10 people who claim asylum get order removal because they simply don't qualify for asylum. They're not escaping fear and persecution from the homeland because of race, religion, political affiliation. They're coming here for a better life, and I get that. But that's not asylum. We're enforcing laws, and the great success we're having proves you enforce the law, you can secure the border. You enforce the law, you can make this country safe again. That's what we're doing.
Are there any more military?
Holman put it best. To me, that makes sense. If you come here seeking asylum because of war or famine, terrorism or something that's going on in your home country, that's different. But if you just come here just because you want to make more money, well, hell, we all want to make more money. We want to make more money. That's not a reason to get asylum. And see, that makes sense. That's pretty simple. So the people that come here and say, I got to come here being persecuted, they get to come here. Let me try to figure out if what they're saying, they get a court date. And if they can't prove that they're being persecuted for these reasons that fit criteria for asylum, they get an order of removal. And they just don't remove themselves. Get it? And that's why we end up what we end up with. We end up with a bunch of people that said anything they needed to say to get in and stay a couple years. And that couple years turns to 10 or 2 decades or 30 years or so. And that's the situation. It's a bad system. It really is. We need to be able to vet people immediately. We need to determine what people are coming for and immediately if that's going to be allowed. If then we don't have that situation. Or less people coming through. But what's happening right now is unacceptable, and the Democratic Party response to it is to bring more people in. And I don't see how that helps anybody that's working class. And it doesn't. People keep going out to Latinos and saying, why did so many Latinos vote for Trump? Because they don't want to compete against other people that are coming to bring down the cost and the cost of living, or no, bring down the wages and the cost of labor. Because they got to live in those communities. And ain't nobody coming to save them. They're just like us. They just like you in that regard. Now, the ICE thing, getting harassed by ICE may not be, that's just part of the course, but I guess small price to pay if you don't want everybody to stay. And let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. I see it like this. It's very clear. Democrats have an agenda. Republicans have an opposite agenda. And this is why some people decided that they would put up with Trump's talk, his tweets, his antics, whatever, because at the end of the day, they had an issue that they wanted resolved. And the Democrats were the polar opposite on it. And since they don't have to, they know how to cut off the TV or not read Twitter, it wasn't that hard a decision. All right, let's go, Johnson. Now, this is where I remind you that you watch the Tim Black Show, fam. Become a Tim Black member by going to jointimblack.com. Starting at only $5 a month. The hell?
They simply don't qualify for asylum. They're not escaping fear and persecution from the homeland because of race, religion, political affiliation. They're coming here for a better life, and I get that. But that's not asylum. We're enforcing laws, and the great success we're having proves you enforce the law, you can secure the border. You enforce the law, you can make this country safe again. That's what we're doing.
Are there any more military?
Can I also remind people that, can I remind you something? I just thought about it. There are a lot of MAGA people that are very upset. Yeah, man, they're pissed off because they feel like Trump ain't do his job at all, man. Like, he started off doing it, and then he kind of, what's that word for it? Starts with a C. He capitulated. Yeah, man, they're complaining right now. A lot of MAGA people are pissed off because Trump done pulled up the stakes and headed for home in Minnesota and other places. They're like, this is not why we voted for you, Trump. You're caving in to the mainstream corporate media Democrats. So while all this is happening at one time, fam, MAGA, some of the truest MAGA type people are upset, man. They feel betrayed. Yeah. They feel betrayed, Johnson. Because what you've been seeing is not part of the bargain. This loudness, this is just media manipulated. This media manipulated, making it seem like the whole world is on, the whole country is on fire because of Donald Trump, and that's not what it is. That's not what's happening. People are not being chased down by hounds. I had some jackass on Facebook trying to relate ICE to slave catchers. I mean, it's a real thing. These people really are delusional. Truly delusional. Nobody's chasing down ICE people, undocumented people with hounds and burning their homes and blowing up their homes and decapitating people. And no, that's not what's happening. That's not it. But you know, when you don't have your own struggle, when you don't have a history of being terrorized, when you don't have that type of persecution and oppression in your past, you have to make up one. You have to jury rig a struggle. And instead of actually saying, okay, this is what we got to deal with, and if you are an activist, if you want to fight against the Democrats, or I say Republicans, that's one thing. But why do you have to borrow the language and mimic black struggle, black American struggle, formerly enslaved struggle, freedmen struggle? That's an insult to us. That's an insult. No one's blowing up Little Havana. No one's bombing. It's not the Red Massacre, the blood. This is not what's happening. It's not 1919 and 1921. There is no Rosewood comparison for you with an order of deportation for your uncle, Javier. Totally different thing. You have not been Emmett Tilled. You have been deported. Big difference. Big, humongous difference. How disrespectful to compare the two. It's like people want to, just. And you know what? I wish that wasn't in our history, but it is. I wish it wasn't reality. But see, my parents grew up in the Jim Crow era, and I'll be damned if I let you come over here and pretend that is this. That time, that Jim Crow is happening again. I'll be damned if you get to pretend that's what's happening. Or because somebody who's been here 30 years might have to leave because they weren't supposed to be here more than a year. That they overstayed for 29 years. Instead of going, wow, I got to stay for 29 years. Now you want to compare it to slavery. Man, I got a special place of frustration and anger, bitterness to black Americans who fall for that. But I realize the indoctrination is thick. The lies are heavy. It's a lot of lies by the Democrats pulling at your better nature. You can care about people, but stop making that the same thing. Just, a few years ago in Ohio, there was a guy who was discovered. He was keeping women, young women. I don't think they were girls. I think they were young women, chained up in his basement. You guys remember this guy? And there was this black guy who happened to be in a neighborhood, and he saw this young white girl at the door trying to get out, and he helped her get out or something like that. She ran over to him. Remember this? And it became viral. The black guy was like, it became a soundbite. It was a viral soundbite. He said, yeah, I knew something was wrong when that white girl ran into the arms of a black man the way she did. Oh no, something's going on. Turns out this guy had been kidnapping and been keeping these women as slaves in his basement. And he had done so for like 5-6 years or something. Well, see, that's a horrific ordeal. Excruciating, tormenting these women. That was diabolical, sinister, inhumane thing to do. Now, would you compare that to somebody who had a bad date today? Went on a bad date with a guy and had to get out and walk home or catch a bus or call an Uber. No, you would not. You would not do that because you got respect for women. You wouldn't compare. That's crazy. Why would I compare people that are kidnapped and put into a basement and forced to have relations with a guy they can't stand for years and never know if they're going to make it out alive again? How could you compare that to a woman who had a bad date who jumped in an Uber and went home? No, what I'm saying is that's the same thing you're doing when you're comparing Latinos that are in this country of their own will, who are now being forced to leave this country because they're not citizens. When you compare that to the formerly enslaved or descendants of slaves or freedmen or foundational black Americans who were brought, sold, and dragged to this country and kept in those basements, kept in those fields perpetually. Not only were they slaves, their kids were slaves, not only were their kids slaves, their kids were slaves. It was inherited, not like indentured servants. Indentured servants wasn't inherited. You don't pass it on. Because for us, it wasn't about owing money. It was about the color of our skin. Relegated us to the status of being furniture. Livestock. So when I'm watching, I'm reading my comments, because we're doing really good on Facebook now, and a lot of people are reaching the content, and I got people commenting, and they send me notes telling me to respond to comments. You want to keep your Facebook growing, you got to respond to these comments. And I'm looking at some of the comments. It really burns me up, man. There is no comparison between those two things. When you say we need to let go and stop being victims, it'd be a lot easier to let go of the past if you stop bringing it up out of context. All right, let's go, Johnson. Oh, and by the way, don't tell me when I can talk about my people. I don't need your damn permission. Want direct access to ask questions, interact, and chop it up? Become a VIP member. Go to jointimblack.com. Stay dangerous.